The views and opinions expressed by the guests of Sasquatch Experience do not necessarily reflect the opinion of the hosts, sponsors, or affiliates of the Sasquatch Experience. As always, listener discretion is advised.
911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Does a legend walk among us, lurking in the forests of our world?
Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my sensor light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man or something. It looks like a man. I don't know what it was.
For over 15 years, we've talked with scientists, researchers, investigators, and witnesses, trying to gain insight and proof around the existence of this mysterious entity.
Jesus Christ, you better...
Sir?
Dia!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh. Okay, hang on.
He's right...
Is he in your yard, sir?
Yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he doing in your yard?
He's looking at me.
Join us as we continue into the investigation of the Sasquatch Experience. And, well, here we are tonight, folks. Sasquatch Experience Monday, January 8th, 2024, as a major system once again hitting across the, looks like the center of the country right now. Vance and starting to get hammered. Henry's off tonight due to some very bad weather in Mississippi, so we wish him the best. But we have a good guest for you tonight, and, of course, our menagerie of co-hosts from all over with varying experiences. It's going to be a good show tonight. And before we get kicked off with our guest, just a couple reminders. Social media, Sasquatch Experience on Facebook, Instagram, Squatch EXP on X. Guys, got a lot of stuff happening on X lately. I don't know what it is, but folks like us over there. X is becoming a weird place. It's where all the weirdos go.
It is.
But that's our people. That's our people.
I don't know. Yeah.
And of course,
It's everybody's people.
WD-40 on Baker's chair, still squeaking away. You can help support the show and get Baker a better chair by going to Patreon. And for as little as $2 a month, support the show. You don't have to, but you get it mostly ad-free after the fact. So that's a pretty good deal in itself. So guys, man, we got a good guest tonight. As you can see down in the bottom corner, Eli Watson, more famous than us, which I didn't think was possible. Eli is a California native on the search for Sasquatch and otherworldly mysteries. He is the host of the podcast Cryptid Campfire, a member of the Small Town Monsters production team featured in Mysteries and Monsters, Beyond the Trail of Bigfoot, and currently working on Bigfoot Road to Discovery, now available on Small Town Monsters on YouTube. And his adventures have taken him to remarkable places, and tonight he joins us on the Sasquatch Experience. Eli, thanks for taking the time and your globe-trotting to sit down with us here tonight.
Hey, well, thanks for having me on. I want to give you guys props, though. This is probably the most clever title. I can't believe no one's went for it yet, but Sasquatch, my dear Watson, that's you guys hands down. Best.
Yeah, that's all up here, buddy.
It'll cost you if you want to use it. Money. $2. $2.
I give this away for free, Eli. Make that the title of your book if you'd like to. You can just put me as a...
Right.
That's fine. Yeah. So, Eli, we are really glad you joined us tonight. We have a lot of questions for you, but more importantly, are you finally taking a little downtime? You working on something else, or are you just getting a little time to relax in between all these videos Seth is making you slave away on?
Well, how do I put this? I'm beginning to work on a new project. It's something that'll hopefully debut at Monster Fest. I don't want to say what it is in case it doesn't work out that way. You know, things are always in flux until they're out, you know? So yeah, so it's not Sasquatch related, but it is cryptid related. So it's something I filmed.
Very cool.
Actually, a lot of the British Columbia content already came out last November, but everything except for what I filmed, that's been a secret project for some months now, and by the time it comes out will be more than a year. So
wow,
I'm excited.
that's a long time from filming to getting it out there. But no, I understand the need for secrecy, and you know your secret's safe with us. No winking, gentlemen. But if you haven't checked it out, folks, on YouTube right now, you can go see Road to Discovery. I've liked that. You know, you're chronicling what's going on up there in the nesting area with the Olympic project. Eli, how did you get, before we jump into that, how did you get into Sasquatch, cryptozoology? What was your push into the field of study?
Well, it's remarkably not very special. I grew up in Southern California, and as you know, it's not Sasquatch country down here, although I have made quite a few documentaries on that. But growing up, I certainly hadn't heard of Sasquatch down here. But I grew up with shows like Monster Quest and Lost Tapes, and then later Finding Bigfoot. And that's kind of, I can't really point to a moment where I can say, this is where I learned about Sasquatch. It just felt like something that I always knew about. There's Sasquatch, Loch Ness Monster, and the Chupacabra for me. It was kind of the trinity, which is weird because most of the time people would say Sasquatch, Loch Ness, and Mothman, but I wasn't really into Mothman being out here in California. And then in 2018, I was working at a movie theater, and I got real close with someone there, and we were just talking about Bigfoot all the time. And I said we should start a podcast, and I remember he just kind of laughed and walked away, and I was like, "Oh, that's well, shot my shot." And he came back a few days later and was like, "Hey, I've been thinking about what you said. We should start a podcast." And so we agreed we needed one more person because we couldn't just, you know, we wanted to appeal to a broader audience than just, you know, going straight into, you know, the Patterson Gimlin film and stuff like that. We wanted to lead people into it. So we wanted to bring someone else in. And so we brought in Jasmine May With, who's actually here in the chat tonight. I think the first comment on Facebook. And also my girlfriend, I should say that. But and yeah, so that's how Cryptid Campfire came to be. And so it kind of started off as a hobby for me, and I found myself getting really, really into reading the books and really just wanting to do interviews and interviewing people. And then I interviewed Seth, and I went to film school, and I wanted to make films. I've always wanted to make films. Wanted to make films longer than I've wanted to look for Sasquatch. And when I found out about Seth is when I found out that, it's possible. I can make films and not be enslaved to the Hollywood system and make things about, or make movies about what I want to make movies about. And that was when I did the podcast, the Cryptid Campfire interview with Seth, and then he invited me out to the On the Trail of Bigfoot, the Discovery shoot in April of 2021. So I flew out and did that, and that was my first time working with Small Town Monsters. That led to me working on Beyond the Trail. Now everything's coming full circle as I'm doing the kind of sequel series to that movie with Road to Discovery.
Yeah, it's really good. And I like how you touch back on some of those subjects. You know, I've known Seth a long time since he did Minerva. So I've been a Small Town Monsters fan and supporter before the first Kickstarter, I guess. So I've really enjoyed seeing all the different filmmakers come in and put their own little mark on the movies, and there are distinct stylization differences, and I think I appreciate what you're doing, because what you seem to be doing with this is really really documentary work. Like it's a lot of, if folks are expecting scary camera work and music, they're not going to get that. They're really going to get, I think, what may be truly, you and Alex both, I think you a little bit more in this, a true taste of what the research is really like.
Right.
And I think it's important people see that, because with Finding Bigfoot and other shows, though they're great shows, and people, you can say what you want to out there about them being entertainment, it puts asses in the seats so people want to watch the rest of the stuff we're putting out there, and they it brings an audience in to listen. But what you do is distinct, and I really appreciate it as a researcher, from a researcher's perspective. I think you're really showing what it's really like out there. And in fact, those guys go a lot harder than we do. Don't let me fool you there. They really are some remarkable gentlemen in the Olympic and ladies in the Olympic project.
Well, thank you. Yeah. That was the main goal for this series more than anything else. I think it came at just the way the show came together and the scheduling of the filming, and it's different from anything else that I've made. And, because I made Mysteries and Monsters for the majority of last year, and I wanted it to feel like this big epic adventure that you were learning along with me. And certainly that's one aspect of it, is this research can feel adventurous and spectacular, but that show is a lot to produce. It's a lot to kind of maintain that upbeat feeling. And so with Road to Discovery, I wanted to pursue something more relaxed, more grounded, and I wanted to return to this kind of old school vibe with it. I point to the Sasquatch documentaries of the 70s and the 80s and even the 90s, and they're like a genre of their own, because they don't really reflect the time period they were made in. You watch Sasquatch Odyssey and compare it to like other documentaries made in the 90s, and they're not the same. They're not. It's like Sasquatch Odyssey is its own beast. So I kind of wanted to replicate specifically those documentaries, and it ended up becoming more or less its own thing in the end, which it always does. But I was very worried at the release of the first episode that people would find it boring, because there isn't those big jump scares. There isn't any scary moments. It's just a very relaxed, informative thing. Yeah.
But those are not the people that you really want involved in this whole genre to begin with. If they're there for the jump scare, those aren't the people that you want in that circle. You want the people in there that are really looking at the scientific fact and looking for all this nuanced evidence, in my opinion, anyway.
Right. Because yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of this research, and a lot of what you find is not exactly the most exciting stuff in the world. But and what I really try to paint a picture in Road to Discovery is that the sum of all the parts, is what makes it compelling. And you have, Chris Spencer's audio. If you take one audio file, that's not going to convince anybody. Just one sound, but you have all of this audio that's recorded over 2 years, plus a footprint find, plus the nests themselves, and plentiful food sources. And you put all of that together, and suddenly it's like, oh, this points to something being here. The sum is, how would you say, the parts, the sum is greater than the parts, or is that the saying? I'm butchering that.
But you make a good point with that, though. Like, I learned so much from listening to Chris talk about forests and the ecosystem, that those little tidbits, and like somebody said, the nuance the nuance about it is what attracts me. And if I'm learning, and I've been in this field a long time, and I'm still learning things and interested in that, there's still a market for that. And now, Eli, you are telling the story though with the personalities. You've got Shane, you've got Chris, you've got Rebecca. I think they're really good people to have on here because they do add a little bit to the story. You go back and you talked about Sasquatch Odyssey. If you took out the four horsemen of that documentary, what would it be?
Yep.
Right. And that was really, I think, the first documentary that didn't so much associate with the subject as it did the people involved in the subject. And, if you did something like that now, man, you've got the pics of, a cast of characters. You'd be doing shows for years with all the interesting people in this field.
Right.
So, I mean, you were at Monster Fest last year. You saw most of them. And that's... there's a lot to work with, and I think you're doing a very good job with it. I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but they're very strong, and I hope it stays that way. And I do enjoy the audio and the real tidbits that you're putting in there that do tell the story of what's going on in that area.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Vance, Baker, Matt, you guys got questions for Eli?
Oh, I've got lots of questions, but I don't want to hog the whole show. I wanted to save. I wanted to save one question because Shane Corson's going to be on our show in February, and I brought this topic up a couple of shows previous on the Sasquatch Experience. The nesting site that you visited. I was rather curious, could it actually not be a nesting site, but perhaps maybe a burial site? And I'm wondering if you even have given any consideration to that at all.
It's funny. I would say the biggest blunder in my series so far has been not to include, for whatever reason, what the Olympic Project thinks that the nest site is. As far as a burial site, I'm not sure if it could be. I can't say with 100% certainty that it's not, but I think the first nest site that they found had 7 nests in it, and I mean, I don't know if that would mean that there's 7 Sasquatches buried there, but I think what they think it is, and Shane could probably explain it better, is that it's probably a birthing site.
Where they make the babies.
Well, and that's really interesting too, because I've often brought up the point of a female human will give off a lot of screams while giving birth, and I'm sure maybe then a female Sasquatch would scream quite a bit in the dead of night if giving birth or during the day, and you're recording these sounds. Who's to say that that's not actually giving birth? There's so many aspects to all of this that we don't have answers to, but boy, it sure is interesting.
You can point to the very fact that the nests themselves are made out of huckleberry, as opposed to any of the other plants. Their huckleberry leaves were used by Native Americans, I think, as to give to women during childbirth because it helps stop the bleeding. And so there's an interesting aspect going on there.
Wow, I didn't know that.
You look at the gap between when the 2 nests were found, because there was the original nest site found in 2015, and then again found another nest site found in 2020. Well, if you're applying what we know about other apes to Sasquatch, you would probably look at orangutans, because orangutans live mostly solitary lives, but then get together for childbirth, and they give birth every 4 to 8 years. So a gap of 5 years would make sense in this scenario, So they're not building nests all the time. They're building them every few years when one is born. So,
Huh. That sounds
Wow.
valid.
Yeah, right.
right? Yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, that's all them too. And Shane will probably explain it way better than I can. But it's when I heard it, I was like, well, I don't know what else it could be. So,
Right.
But now think about that. You're taking known science, right? Medicinal properties of plants. You're taking known gestations of apes, and now you're wrapping it in to this unknown science, which is exactly what we should be doing in this field of study, right? And to me, that's incredibly remarkable that we're able to draw these parallels. It's incredibly cool. And just that little tidbit you gave me, I'm really looking forward to more of this road to discovery and seeing what the guys from the Olympic Project are doing. Not that I'm knocking anybody else's research, including our own Matt,
Nope.
but these guys are getting out there. They're rocking some field time. They're making it happen, and then you got Eli chronicling it all. It's amazing. I can't wait to see. Are there going to be any surprises? Anything that's going to make us go when we watch this documentary? How many episodes are there?
currently, the third one just came out yesterday, and then there will be a fourth one coming out later this month, and then at least 6, and then I'm going back out in March to film some more. So it's going to be ongoing. As to how many there will be, I don't know, because there's a lot to cover. And, I will say the fourth episode that comes out later this month is still about the nest site, but eventually I move on from the nest site because they study different areas as well. So we get into all the other stuff. And when I went out there in September to film it, we spent 2 days out at the nest site, and I said to them, "Oh, this will be a quick, follow up to the movie. Like, what have you guys been doing since then?" And instead, just one episode about the nests, and instead it's turned into 4. So,
Well, don't knock it. It's creating content, and that's what it's all about. Matt, Baker, you guys got any questions?
Yeah, you know what? I just caught like a real quick bit of this on one of your documentaries, but could you give us the whole story about the mouse camp?
oh,
Mouse. Yes.
A mouse camp,
Yes. Yeah, mouse. Right.
well, back in April of 2021, during my first shoot of Small Town Monsters, it was me and Alex, and we were camping down at the nest site, and they had made that camp, and all of this is like logging territory. There's no trails, there's nothing. So they kind of cleared out an area where it was flat enough for us to camp, and they didn't have a name for it. And as the story goes, because I was asleep for the whole thing, I went to bed before everyone else did because I was tired. I had actually gotten sick. So I flew into Washington. Me and Alex drove up to Rainier, walked around in the snow, and then we came to the nest site, and it was raining. And when I woke up the next morning, I was sick. I was sick for the rest of the trip. And brutal. To camp and be like congested and coughing sucks. And and I was also trying to like impress Seth and Alex and try to get a job. So I'm like pushing myself really hard, So
You poor guy.
on the second night, I went to bed before everyone else because I was exhausted, and I laid down. And an hour or two later, I guess Alex unzips the tent, and there's a mouse trying to climb out.
Oh, no.
The mouse had been trapped inside the tent with me ever since I went to bed. And so as a way to poke fun at me, the members of the Olympic Project decided to call it Mouse Camp.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Don't feel bad, Eli. Baker misses most of our shenanigans on camping trips when he takes his allergy medicines and passes out, and he misses everything. He could sleep through a Sasquatch encounter once he takes his pill.
Uh,
As long
Oh,
as it doesn't wake up in the middle of the night and start staring at me, I'm pretty good,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Question from Jeremiah, Eli. He wants to know, what is your favorite part of the Drumming for Bigfoot documentary?
Yeah, the Drumming for Bigfoot documentary. Well, for anyone who doesn't know, Drumming for Bigfoot is a documentary I think also directed by Peter von Puttkamer, who made Sasquatch Odyssey. And both documentaries feature Henry Franzoni very prominently. And here's what's funny is, gosh, it would have been September of 2021. I interviewed Henry Franzoni on camera. And I didn't know anything about him. And Drumming for Bigfoot is not the official name. I think the documentary is just called Bigfoot, if I'm not mistaken. Hello, Todd.
It's possible, right?
When I had actually spent the night before at Chris Spencer's house with Rebecca Slick and Chris, and I told them that I was going to go interview Franzoni, and they showed me for the first time Drumming for Bigfoot, and I was like blown away. But the number one thing that got me was how Franzoni himself says Sasquatch. He says Sasquatch, and he still says it like that today.
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch.
All right.
Is he from Connecticut or?
No.
Oh yeah, Cray. Yeah. Oh, who knows?
No.
Listen, I just bought his book,
Sasquatch.
right? Let me read it. I just bought his book, and I've known Henry since like way before all this. There was like a virtual internet Bigfoot conference, and I've known Henry a long time. So I have his book, and I'm looking forward to checking it out and reading it. He's an interesting cat, guys. If you're not familiar with him, check him out.
Squatch.
He's definitely changed some views over the years. Any other questions from you guys? We do have to take a quick break because I told Seth I'd run this commercial. So we got a minute. Let's go ahead. 32 seconds, 58 seconds, and we'll be right back. Hold on.
The next Small Town Monsters Kickstarter launches on February 1st of 2024. Mark your calendars and join the campaign to be a part of STM history. Backing the campaign guarantees you a plethora of physical and digital rewards, including artwork, books, apparel, and early access to the next round of Small Town Monsters films, with your name in the credits. Films like On the Trail of Bigfoot, The Ancients, Lost Contact, Dogman Territory, Werewolves in the Land Between the Lakes, and the Kickstarter backer exclusive Cryptid, The Goatman. Visit smalltownmonsters.com for more information, and be sure to follow us on your social media platform of choice for more news and sneak peeks at upcoming Kickstarter rewards. You can join the campaign anytime during the month of February, but don't delay. Once it's over, it's over. Back the campaign, choose your rewards, and be a part of this incredible journey.
Speaking of rewards, I just got my last year's Kickstarter statue in the mail on Sunday. Look at that, guys. Look at that.
And that awesome. Look at that.
Get a
Yes.
little touching that undercarriage there, buddy.
Yes.
Easy to grab that way. It's like a Golden Globe, which,
It is.
Golden Yeti Award. I don't have one of those yet.
Yes.
I'd like to thank the Academy.
Seth has a Golden Yeti. I want a Golden Yeti.
Yeah. Oh
It'd be
man.
cool. Lauren Coleman.
Anyhow, folks, after that brief commercial, welcome back, Sasquatch Experience, Sean Forker, James Baker, Matt Arner, Vance Nesbitt, also known as Chatty Cathy, and our guest tonight, Eli Watson. I did take this ginormous, obnoxious, sound isolating thing, coconut, off my
Love Cup.
microphone so we could go back to something a little bit more normal looking.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we're here. Folks,
You
keep
sound a little bit better too.
good. That's
Oh.
important.
Look at that. How that worked out.
That's important. I really don't
that
know
worked out well.
about that thing. Anyhow, back to the important thing. Our guest tonight, Eli Watson, joining us, the creator, producer of Bigfoot Road to Discovery. We've been talking about that for just a few moments here. You know what, Eli? I guess my question for you would be, what keeps you going? Now you've been out in the field, you've been doing filmmaking. You know, what keeps you attached to this mystery? There has to be something that keeps you focused and wanting to keep doing this.
Money.
Not working at a convenience store.
Yeah. Right? By far the best job I've ever had. I don't know. To be honest, the Sasquatch subject is a strange thing to me because this has happened at least twice now in my life, to where I'll become really burnt out on the topic and I'll hate it, and I'll hate Bigfoot and I'll hate everyone in it, and then the stars align and I'm sent on a quest in the Pacific Northwest, and suddenly everything flips and I'm in love with Sasquatch again. And every time that I don't, and I get deeper and deeper into it that way. And so it's like every time I begin to try to get away from this, it sucks me back in. And I guess that's what they would call the curse of Sasquatch, right?
Mm-hmm.
It will take over your life. So,
in many instances, you're correct on that. Yeah. I've had my spells away and have somehow found a way to get drawn back into it. Usually it's some sort of really cool sighting report that's happened locally, or somebody reaches out one day and says, hey, we got something we really want you to look at. And then the next thing you know, it's been 3 or 4 years and you're back right to where you started.
Oh, yeah. I know for a fact at some point in my life, because I'm 25, it'll probably happen at some point where I'll swear off Bigfoot forever, and then I'll go hiking outside and I'll see one. You know?
Right.
That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of leading into that, now there's a couple encounters that we saw that you kind of went through in the series. You know, the one that really kind of came to mind was when you and Alex were out in Utah. And I believe you had something pretty close to you guys. What has been, whether it's on camera or off camera, your best experience that you've had, or the best encounter that you've had out there?
I guess for me, the two most notable encounters happened in the same year, in 2021. One was in Bluff Creek, California, and the other one was in Utah. Okay. And I don't know. I guess it would be the one in California because of just how wild it felt, and that was really the first time I heard knocks in person. And so we went up to this location called Laird Meadow up in Bluff Creek, and Roger Patterson had been there, and all the big timers had been to Laird Meadow and casted tracks and casted what they believed to be Patty's tracks up there as well. And it was me, Alex, Tate Hieronymus, Jonathan Easley, Ron Reed, and a couple other people from the Bluff Creek Project. And so we kind of split up into 3 teams, to where we had Ron Reed, his dog Bandit, and a bunch of other people out on the main road. Me and Jonathan Easley went out to this like patch of trees out in the middle of the meadow, and Tate and Alex went into the wood line on the far side of the meadow. And kind of the goal was to get, situated, wait out for a few minutes, and then Alex's group and my group would do knocks back and forth to each other, which I think is a interesting approach. I don't know if a single one-off knock would really work as much as like having 2 knocks, to respond to each other. Because, I mean, you got to ask the question, if they're doing knocks, what are they knocking to? They're not just doing it. So We did a couple knocks back and forth to each other, and then Alex and Tate said that they had something thrown at them from behind. Either a branch broke or a rock was thrown at them from behind. And then I guess from where I was facing, Alex and Tate were off this direction. And then the road was off over here. And from the direction of the road, it just like exploded. And there was like 5 or 6 knocks. And we were like,
kidding.
What the heck just happened? And so we kind of waited around and nothing else happened. And then we saw Ron Reed and everyone else coming from down the road this way, not from where the knocks had come. The knocks came from where the cars were, but everyone else apparently had walked down the road. And so no one was at the cars when those knocks happened. So everyone went back to the cars and left, and us 4, we stayed. We went back out on the main road, and we just kind of stayed, and we listened for a minute, and it was really bizarre because it was a full moon, so we could see up and down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But, under the trees, it's real dark because of the shadows. And we heard something take a few steps on the right-hand side, and then something take a few steps on the left-hand side. And then it kept going, getting closer and closer to us. And that was actually the first time I was actually like getting nervous because there was something there. And, it's not a bear. It's not a mountain lion. There's 2 things paralleling us, getting closer, taking turns on the side of the road. And that Alex actually went out and spoke to it, and he said something, and that's when it stopped. And we didn't even hear it leave. It just stopped. And so I don't know if they left we stayed there for probably another half hour and nothing happened. Didn't even hear. So I don't know what would have happened if Alex hadn't said anything or what, I just don't know, but it freaked me out.
Yeah. was that the same night that you guys recorded the whoop?
Yeah.
Where the dog was acting really kind of funky.
Yeah. Bandit was he got separated because actually, what's funny is Ken Gerhard showed up earlier that day, and he was part of that Trinity Alps giant salamander expedition. Mm-hmm. And I guess they just decided to come to Bluff Creek because they weren't finding any giant salamanders. And we were walking kind of the road, looking at the location where Jerry Crew would have found tracks. And I guess Bandit went off and roamed by himself, which I guess is something that he does. And then he always comes back just fine. But this time he came back tail tucked between his legs and was just freaking out, And then we got back to camp, and Jonathan easily filmed himself, and that's when a whoop happened during he was filming that. And I think someone else said that they heard a knock or something, but I can't remember. But yeah, there was just weird things happening, but kind of disparate. And like, even though we're there for Sasquatch, none of us were really like putting all the pieces together, So it's just kind of bizarre. But yeah, that was the same night. So something might have been. Yeah.
It's real funny how that happens. You're out there with the express purpose and intent of trying to solicit some sort of activity, and then it happens and you find yourself completely unprepared on how to deal with it. It's what happened to me. It's what's happened to others. Right. So you're not in an island upon yourself in that one. It's happened to the best of us. And it's just one of those damn things that makes you empathize with our witnesses even more, that when they experience something, and sometimes what they experience far more dramatic than what you or we've experienced, we expect to be able to get so much info out of them. It's really difficult to sometimes bring them into it, and you have to get that on video.
Mhm.
Has that been a challenge to you at times? You get people that are so emotional, you got to shut it down and you have to give them time, or, how do you deal with that on a shoot?
I haven't dealt with that completely, I guess. Mostly because I haven't been around anything too dramatic, I guess. Well, I kept thinking about this and how strange it was. Or I guess I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I haven't had to deal with it. There is something I'm anticipating talking to a couple people about in regards to Road to Discovery that will probably be very dramatic, and I don't know how well of an interview it's going to be, right? But I also haven't interviewed anyone who is like, or who have had a Sasquatch experience so recently that they were still very, very moved by it. It's always been a couple years have passed and things like that, and so they're able to kind of control that emotional response to it. But it's yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it would be like if I saw it. I haven't seen one, so but if I might poop myself or something, I don't know.
Right. Understandable.
I don't know if that answers your question, but
yeah, I get it.
You're good.
I kind of wanted to take things a little bit different direction here, a little bit more lighthearted. Eli, I'm 30 years plus your senior. I appreciate the fact of what you do, but what I appreciate, one thing that I appreciate greatly when you do these videos with small town monsters, it's the good, bad, and ugly poncho that you wear. Dude, that is so badass in my world. I just can't get enough of this. I'm looking at guys geared up in 2023, 2024, all their gear, and here's Eli. He's got a poncho on, and I'm just waiting for you to throw that thing over your shoulder and pull out a 44 and say, nope, I'm the ruler of the day right now. And you might laugh, but you know what? Sometimes it's old school stuff that is the most efficient in what that you're doing. And I give you total kudos for that whole idea of going into that environment with that. That is just, that makes my day. I love to see that. Thank you, sir.
Oh, I appreciate that. That poncho is 100% alpaca. And I got that actually on the same trip of the story I just told. We drove up to Oregon right after we did that documentary, Bigfoot Mountain, it's called. And we went up to government camp there on Mount Hood, and there was all these vendors there, and I saw a poncho, and I saw that poncho, and I was like, I want it. And I bought it, and for a decent price too. And the owners actually took a picture of it. They asked me what I did for a living, and they were enthralled that I looked for Bigfoot. They loved it. They put it on their website
awesome.
as a Bigfoot hunting poncho.
See,
and my
all
picture
things
is
come
on
together that way. Yeah, that's awesome. How all that comes together.
My
was meant
biggest
to be.
takeaway. My biggest takeaway from this interview, Vance, is that you're impressed with Eli's outfits, and I'm concerned.
Dude,
Hey,
I have since the first time I saw him on any of these, that poncho, and I'm like, dude, that is so bad. I would do that. I just don't know if I've got the balls to do it, but Eli does it, and well, it fits him perfectly. Me, I probably look like a moron doing it, but with Eli doing it, no, I could just see him throwing that poncho over his left shoulder and pulling out a 44 and say, "Yeah, really? You want to F with me? Okay, let's go."
I'm more likely to pull out a 45, but
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just that's part of the whole environment of what it is that you're doing, and that helps build the whole case of what it is that you're trying to discover.
Well, I
Well, it's
appreciate it.
admirable you have fun while doing this, and you can see it in what you do. And I think that's also an important element that we lose sometimes in all this, that should still be about fun. As much as it should be about discovery science, it should still have that element of fun about it.
Yeah. One more thing about Vance's question is I don't know if I could pull off the bald head Robert Morgan look.
Nah, you're doing more of a Clint
Yeah, I don't
Eastwood
know.
thing. You've got more of the Clint Eastwood thing going on. I'll give you that.
The memes are going to start flying tomorrow now.
I'm
Eli's
sure they are.
Yeah.
Morgan's body.
I'm sure they are.
Now,
Eli, what do you say
going
to the
into
skeptics who keep saying that there's not enough evidence for the existence of Bigfoot? You're out there, you're doing this. What do you say to them?
They're not. I wish I could say they're not paying attention, but it's not that. It's there. There is evidence out there. I don't think people are coming forward enough with it, I guess. Like one of the things with this series, Road to Discovery, is that sure, the members of the Olympic Project might have talked about some of this stuff on a podcast, but they've given me access to footage that's never been seen by the public before, and going through it and placing it in chronological order and stuff. And it's like, what you guys are finding stuff that's even more incredible than what you guys have been saying on podcasts and shows and stuff like that. But it just requires, I don't want to sound conceited, but it requires the right person to tell it, and because presentation is everything, no matter what it comes to, even if you're presenting Sasquatch evidence, there's still a bit of marketing when it comes to it. You still need to present it in a way that makes sense, a way that's logical, easy to follow, in a way that will, quite frankly, convince people that this is real. And again, it comes down to, you can't just look at one piece of evidence. If you look at one footprint, anyone can say, oh, it's fake. If you look at 1,000 footprints, it's harder to say that. If you look at 1,000 footprints and 50 audio files, one video, couple photographs, and suddenly you're building a case. So I guess it's not quite an answer to your question, but I think what we as Sasquatch researchers need to do is to either publish a book or create something that just displays the evidence of what we've found so far. And I guess, one thing I will say that is a step in the right direction is Chris Spencer's audio project, because he's working with Squatcher Metrics, and they're putting together a report of all the audio that Chris recorded over a 2-year period in the nest site. And so, I mean, what you have is a very small amount of suspicious audio, as they'll call it. They don't call it, Sasquatch audio, because he didn't see a Sasquatch make the sound. So, you can't 100% say that that's what it is. It's suspect audio. So, but that's a step. We need more things like that. So,
I love how that's presented, by the way. The correlation of data and the squatchometrics. It's again, when you talk about presentations on the presentation, I think it's articulated very well. Go ahead, Matt.
So you have been to some of the most remote places in the United States. You've been up to Canada, Alaska. where are some of those international go-to places that you would love to go and investigate?
Mm. Mm. Definitely would love to get to Nepal
Mhm.
and look for the Yeti up there and kind of retrace the steps of Tom Slick and Peter Byrne and those expeditions that the unfortunately named Slick Johnson expeditions.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they went to the Arun Valley, I think it's called the Arun Valley, and that I would love to go there. I guess I don't know. Lake monsters aren't necessarily my thing, but Loch Ness is obviously a
Yeah.
place I've never been to. Would love to get out there.
Mhm.
Oh, Australia. I've been thinking about the Yowie a lot lately. I would love to get out there, especially because
Oh, yeah.
there's reports of Yowie nests having been found. So, would love to take a look at that. And then I've been thinking about the Mapinguari a lot as well.
Mhm.
And whatever that is. And I know there's people who look into that. And so, I'm half Salvadorian, half Central American, so it's like I feel like I could blend in that culture well enough to where I could get in and, start looking for that as well, So that's what I would say. Those places. Yeah.
There's a lot of things
Now,
there that
and
can
then, yeah.
That's my
there are
hesitation from going out is all the things that can kill you out there. That takes some cojones, my friend.
I'm more worried about, more than anything, if I were to go to South America and look for the Mapinguari, because funny enough, Shane Corson was just down here in SoCal not too long ago, just before Christmas, and we went to the San Diego Zoo. And one of Shane's favorite animals are snakes, and I'm not a fan of snakes. So, but we spent a lot of time.
Or Sean, right? Yeah.
We spent a lot of time at the reptile house, and I'm there looking at these like micro enclosures of like mini forests and stuff, and I look in there, I'm like, oh, I don't see the snake. Shane's like, there it is. And then you see this 12-foot long snake curled up in the corner or up in a tree, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, it's venomous and it's got poisonous skin. And it's like, yeah, see, I would have just died right now. I would have looked there and been like, oh, I'm safe. Died.
I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I'm nervous about, is really jungly places. It's like
it's a real fear.
Yep.
But people survive down there, so people do it somehow.
They do. You're right. You're right. They do. Rattlesnakes are my biggest concern. Matt and I's research area happens to be also close to the last place there was a fatality from a rattlesnake bite in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So that, just gets my blood pumping even more when we're out there.
But they give you a warning. At least they're courteous.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I love that.
That one there, the guy was actually getting firewood at night, and he stuck his hand into the wood, and the rattlesnake struck him. So yeah, we're super, super careful when we go up there.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, so how can we get you out with us, Eli?
Yeah.
Come on down to our neck of the woods and dodge the rattlesnakes with us.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would go.
I just bought snake gators. I'm good. I'm all set up for this. Scott says Chris's work is excellent. He has put so much work into an extremely tedious project, but great data. Yeah, absolutely. It's I really concur with that, and you have more experience with it than we do, Eli.
Yeah, I mean, Chris has an obsessive personality, he will sit there for hours on end and go through audio, and I don't know if I could do that.
It is a tall order. Yeah, it is a tall order.
But I've noticed it in myself, and I think every researcher has it. There's some aspect of it that's obsessive in some way, right? You know, even just the fact that we keep coming back to the topic of Sasquatch. You know, how much of that is us subconsciously wanting to get back to something that we know and scratch that itch, and how much of that is the Sasquatch curse? I don't know. But you know, history, archival data, that's my bag. I love going through people's different accounts and stuff. You know, one of the things I'm actually kind of trying to work on now is piecing together what happened during the 1960 Bluff Creek expedition, where John Green, Renee DeHinden, Peter Byrne, Ivan Sanderson, and Tom Slick were all there in Bluff Creek. And there is no official account of it, but there are bits and pieces throughout John Green's writings, Peter Byrne's writings, DeHinden's writings, Sanderson's writings, and I'm trying to collect those all and kind of piece together what happened, because I know what happened is everyone got together and it was extremely optimistic, and then everyone left hating each other. So it's
right, exactly.
I was just going to ask if that's the one where everybody left, and you know, we know absolutely nothing if they found anything on that trip besides the fact they hated each other. Forever after that.
Yep.
So kind of in that same vein here, and I'm going to ask this question in honor of our host who cannot be here tonight, Henry May. Is if you were going out to say like Area A, and you have no internet service, you're going to be up there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. What Bigfoot books are you bringing up to read?
Ooh, good question. The one I'm reading right now, actually, I would highly recommend, which is Matt Pruitt's The Phenomenal Sasquatch.
Yes.
This is
very good.
Great book.
Yep. Very good. Yep.
I can't overstate that enough. It's extremely well written, and I've recommended it to a couple of people who, back in September, I was also mixing around with a group of people who are not of the Sasquatch world, and everything I did to them seemed extremely bizarre, and the only thing I could do was recommend them this book. I said, this book is, it will convince you if you're a skeptic. It will convince you.
Yeah.
So that one, probably Sasquatch, The Apes Among Us by John Green. That's also a fantastic read. And I don't know if I had to pick one more, man.
I don't know that you would have to. I mean, Green and Pruitt, they definitely capitalized on being able to encapsulate the entire genre of the whole Bigfoot thing to begin with. So, yeah, I totally agree with what it is that you're saying with us.
Yeah. I guess I don't know if you said this in the question, but if I were to bring a third book, it would have to do something with the region itself that I was in.
Okay.
You know?
Yep.
So.
No, very good answer to that question.
Yeah.
Guys, we've hit that point. But we do have one more question for you, Eli. Jasmine says, tell them about the coat you want to buy.
Yes. There's a mountain town up near me that sells coats and flannels and things like that. And I bought a flannel from them years ago, and it's a really nice flannel. And, you know, it was like $60. So, you know, it's like high quality stuff, and it's lasted me. I've taken it on every single expedition. I wear it if it gets cold. It's just it's a basic pattern, red and black, you know.
We've all seen it. Right?
Yep. And I was in there just recently around Christmas time because they kind of have a nice Christmas vibe going on up there, and went in there and saw this raincoat that's like, it's got straps for your legs so it won't get tangled up in bushes and stuff, and it's got not one but 2 concealed carry holsters built into the jacket. I was like, whoa, pockets.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really nice jacket, and it's $300, but it's gonna last like 30 years. So
Yep.
And I wouldn't even say it's a jacket. It's more like a trench coat. It covers your entire body,
like a duster.
Like a duster, right? Yeah, it's Western in style. So I'm continuing the Western trend here, and getting a nice thick duster jacket that'll keep me dry when it's wet out.
Well, there you have it, folks. The answer to the question everybody wanted to know. You've been listening to the Sasquatch Experience with our guest tonight, Eli Watson. Eli, any final words of wisdom for the listeners out there?
I want to say thanks for everyone for tuning in, and this has been a fun show, and go watch Road to Discovery if you haven't.
Check it out.
We all have. Yeah, right.
Road to Discovery. And if you're a squad member, you get to see it in 4K, which means it looks even better. So get out there and check it out.
And ad-free. So,
And
Vance, Matt, anything else from you?
No, I think a great night.
Yep. Keep doing what you're doing, Eli. I have a lot of envy when I go to work on a 40-hour work week, and I'm like, how does Eli do this? This is crazy. He's living the life I want to live. So good for you, man. I'm so happy for you, and I watch everything that you have done. I've watched everything that you and Seth have put together, and boy, it is so fulfilling. It is very entertaining, and it is very informative. So kudos to you, sir.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I definitely, Eli, we have so much respect for you, for Alex. Really, I think, with your On the Trail series, with the two of you, really elevated, the whole, education and documentary film style that we really need for this field. You guys are great. And I've said this many times before. I said in the next 5 years, it's going to be people going out there with the high end cameras that are going out in the wild, such as you and Alex, that hopefully, we get some great proof from you guys. So please, keep doing what you're doing. And again, we give you much respect.
Thank you. I hope that would be cool to film Bigfoot one day. Because not only would I get to have a sighting, but you would be able to hear me crap myself.
That's a clip.
Yeah, that's a way to close it out.
How about it? Hey, Vance, since Henry's not here, why don't you go ahead and use his closing words?
Well, y'all be good or be good at it.
Oh, good God. All right, folks. We'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
You've been listening to Sasquatch Experience. Please rate and review where this podcast has been consumed. To share your experience, visit us on Facebook, our website, or email us, info@sasquatchexperience.com. Keep on squatching.